Have you ever wondered if fire truly causes burning, or if the world is simply a series of habits we've developed over time? What if everything we know about cause and effect is shaped by divine will, and not a necessary relationship between events? In today's video, we will explore the groundbreaking views of Al-Ghazali, a philosopher who challenged centuries of philosophical thought. His perspective on causality has had a profound impact on both Islamic and Western thought. So stay with us as we unpack his revolutionary ideas, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more deep dives into philosophical exploration. Who was Al-Ghazali? Al-Ghazali, 1058 to 1111 CE, was a towering intellectual figure in the Islamic Golden Age, whose works on philosophy, theology, mysticism, and jurisprudence have left a lasting legacy. Known as Al-Ghazali in the West, Al-Ghazali's writings deeply challenged the rationalist philosophers of his time, particularly Avicenna, Ibn Sina, and Al-Farabi, who were heavily influenced by Aristotelian philosophy. One of his most influential works, The Incoherence of the Philosophers, Tahafut al-Falasifa, critiqued the necessity of causal connections that these philosophers took for granted, laying the groundwork for a radically different understanding of causality that centers on divine will rather than necessary natural laws. Classical views on causality. Before Al-Ghazali, causality was viewed as an intrinsic and necessary connection between causes and their effects. Aristotle's framework suggested that natural causes were connected by essential properties. For example, fire inherently burns because it possesses a burning quality. Avicenna, following Aristotelian thought, extended this concept by asserting that all causal relationships in the universe ultimately lead back to God, the necessary being. Al-Ghazali, however, fundamentally disagreed with this deterministic view of causality. While he agreed that God was the ultimate cause of everything in existence, he rejected the notion that natural causes were necessarily linked to their effects. Instead, Al-Ghazali argued that what we perceive as cause and effect is a habitual pattern created by God's will, not an inherent property of nature. Al-Ghazali's critique of causality as habit, not necessity. Al-Ghazali's most radical claim was that causality is not an inherent link between cause and effect, but a habitual association that arises from repeated observation. When we observe fire burning cotton, we assume that fire is the cause of the burning. However, Al-Ghazali argued that this is an illusion. The fire and the burning occur because God wills them to, not because fire inherently possesses the power to burn. This concept became known as Occasionalism, which asserts that God is the only true cause, and all other events are mere occasions for divine action. This problem of inductive reasoning. Al-Ghazali's critique also extended to the use of inductive reasoning. Philosophers had long argued that because fire has always burned cotton, we can logically conclude that it will always do so in the future. Al-Ghazali rejected this assumption, arguing that past observations do not guarantee future outcomes. His skepticism about induction foreshadowed similar critiques by later thinkers, particularly David Hume, who also argued that causal connections are habits of the mind, not objective truths. Divine omnipotence. For Al-Ghazali, denying necessary causality was essential to preserving the omnipotence of God. If causality were an inherent feature of the universe, then natural events would occur independently of God's will. This would limit God's power and undermine the central Islamic belief in God's control over all creation. By rejecting the necessary link between causes and effects, Al-Ghazali reaffirmed God as the ultimate cause of all things. Al-Ghazali's philosophical implications: occasionalism and divine will. Al-Ghazali's occasionalism places God at the center of all causality. The fire does not burn because of its inherent nature, but because God wills it to burn. This view redefines the very nature of causality, asserting that what we perceive as natural laws are actually God's chosen habits or customs. Al-Ghazali's emphasis on God's will as the sole cause of everything in the universe also highlights the tension between human reason and divine sovereignty, the role of habit, adet, in human perception. Al-Ghazali introduced the concept of adet, habit, to explain how humans come to perceive regular patterns in nature. Over time, repeated observations lead to the belief that one event causes another. However, these associations are not rooted in any necessity. They are simply a result of habit. Al-Ghazali's distinction between habit and necessity provides a significant challenge to the idea that empirical observations reveal true causal relationships. The impact of Al-Ghazali's ideas in Western philosophy, David Hume and causality. Al-Ghazali's skepticism about causality had a profound impact on later Western thinkers, particularly David Hume. In his Treatise of Human Nature, Hume argued that we can never directly observe a causal connection between two events, only a repeated conjunction of events. This view mirrors Al-Ghazali's Occasionalism, suggesting that both thinkers saw causality as a mental construct rather than an inherent feature of the universe. Hume's work would go on to become a cornerstone of empiricist philosophy. Al-Ghazali's influence on medieval Christian thought. Al-Ghazali's works were translated into Latin during the Middle Ages, and they had a significant impact on Christian philosophers such as Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas critiqued Al-Ghazali's views on causality, but was nonetheless influenced by his emphasis on divine omnipotence. Al-Ghazali's ideas about the relationship between God and causality provided Christian thinkers with a new framework for understanding divine intervention in the natural world. This intellectual exchange underscores the cross-cultural influence of Al-Ghazali's thought. Al-Ghazali's legacy and modern relevance. Impact on Islamic theology. Al-Ghazali's critique of causality reinforced the Asharite school of Islamic theology, which emphasizes God's absolute power and control over creation. His work remains a foundational text for Islamic theologians, particularly those who uphold the belief in God's omnipotence and reject determinism. Philosophical relevance in the modern world. Al-Ghazali's ideas continue to resonate in modern philosophy, especially in discussions about determinism, free will, and the nature of reality. His challenge to the idea of necessary causality calls into question the assumptions underlying modern scientific and philosophical inquiries, encouraging a more nuanced understanding of the limits of human knowledge. The role of science and divine intervention. In today's world, where scientific explanations dominate our understanding of the universe, Al-Ghazali's Occasionalism serves as a reminder that there may be more to reality than meets the eye. While science explains the regularities of the natural world, Al-Ghazali's thought encourages us to consider the metaphysical and theological dimensions of existence that science cannot fully address. Al-Ghazali's critique of causality challenges our most basic assumptions about the world. Do you think cause and effect are truly intrinsic to the universe, or do they merely reflect habitual patterns shaped by divine will? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this in-depth exploration of Al-Ghazali's philosophy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Together, let's continue exploring the depths of thought and philosophy.